mean, y'all are fine. I got it.
Oh.
You're in
Yeah,
this.
that's out.
I want to make sure.
Speak up.
Okay, so I'm going to be moving a little bit quick, but I think I met everyone here. I'm Dylan. I'm the organizer for Bernie for Newberry, Lawrence, and recently Fairfield. So 3 counties right now. I started working for the campaign in July. It's been absolutely awesome. I've been with Newberry since I got on board. And in Lawrence particular, I enjoyed putting on an event with the Reverend Kennedy over there in his work, turning the Redneck Shop into a community center there, and that was awesome, and I look forward, hopefully, to putting more work into Newberry. But to start off, I'm just going to play a quick video. It gets me hyped, and it's a lot better at hyping than I am, so that's where I'll start, and then we'll get into the logistics of everything.
We'll get you a hype man, Dylan.
I do need one. Hopefully, yes.
It's indestructible. Nothing stops this mess.
Bernie might be the nominee. Bernie Sanders could win the first 2 states. Bernie Sanders' campaign said it raised about $35 million in the fourth quarter.
People have underestimated Bernie Sanders before. It's happening this time around.
Is Bernie Sanders on some level a bit of a sleeper leader?
He was essentially written off by many people.
He has the highest favorability rating of all the candidates.
Bernie Sanders has raised more money in individual contributions than Donald Trump.
I tell you, I gotta hand it to Bernie.
Bernie Sanders. They had Bernie Sanders on. The comments were insanely positive.
Where's Sanders' money? Where's it coming from? Well, the most common employers were folks who worked at Amazon, Starbucks, Walmart, Target, the U.S. Postal Service. The most common occupation? Teachers.
The New York Times, why Bernie Sanders is tough to beat. Politico, Democratic insiders say Bernie could win the nomination. Wall Street Journal, don't count Bernie out.
You gotta hand it to that guy, man. That guy, he doesn't quit.
He had 300,000 new donors this quarter. That's a huge surge in support for Sanders.
There is a realistic shot that he could win the Democratic nomination.
There's obviously an appetite for change.
In terms of enthusiasm of Democratic voters, they're most enthusiastic about Bernie Sanders' candidacy.
Senator Bernie Sanders is giving President Trump a run for his money, literally.
I mean, $34 million at $18 a head, that's a lot of voters.
One of the things we always have to keep in mind when we talk about Bernie Sanders fundraising, he is not doing this by calling up billionaires and millionaires holding high-dollar fundraisers.
I know. You see on TV, the billionaire class getting a little bit nervous.
There's a Bernie surge going on right now.
So is the Democrat establishment finally feeling the burn?
Bernie Sanders has staying power.
The vast majority of Sanders donors still have the ability to give more.
In addition to the word durability, underline it next to Bernie Sanders, you can also underline consistency.
This is probably the most organized politician I've ever covered. He's extremely organized.
It's as though Bernie Sanders is like, the little engine that could.
So, Senator Sanders, you're going to run for president.
I am going to run for president. That's correct.
What's going to be different this time?
We're going to win.
Okay, so anytime, no joke, I'm stressed out about work or overwhelmed, I take a second and I watch that video because it reminds me of why I'm putting myself through all this. But I absolutely love that video. And the other thing too I want to highlight is there's a lot of hype, and with hype it's very easy to
Hey, we have more people.
oh sweet.
Later.
Oh, you're good. Could you,
Do you need chairs?
yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get some chairs. Or we can all
Thank
switch.
you.
We can switch.
Yeah, I just have to stay by this thing
I'll
because
switch to
we're
you.
streaming our event. And yeah. Hi everybody, Amy with Praxis Makes Perfect. We are doing our Bern the Bloc party now, so we are thankful for everybody joining us. I know that I meant to live stream it, but unfortunately Fashbook got me kicked off for 3 days. So we will still be posting this on the site. It will either be posted by Zilla or Aaron. So reach out to me if you have any questions, and we can get you hooked up with Bernie stuff. So enjoy the presentation, everybody.
So the other thing too is with hype in general, it's so easy to get disconnected with how down to earth this election is going to be, because you see everything oh, there's so much momentum, and you either think, okay, it's going to just fade out and not amount to much, or you're going to be well, we're fine, and then you're not going to do enough, and we're going to just fall short. And just in the last few weeks alone, the Emerson poll showed us leading in New Hampshire by 4%, I believe. or might have been 2%. One of those is 4%. Yeah, the Emerson poll was a 4% lead with Bernie at 26% in New Hampshire. And then Real Clear Politics has Bernie leading by 2% in Iowa at 22%. And then one of the most important polls that probably could have come out was the Des Moines Register just a few days ago, showing Bernie leading with a 4% lead in Iowa at 20%. Which that poll it's one of the most accredited polling agencies, one of the most well respected, and being in first place in that poll at this point in time has always been a remarkably good sign. Bernie did not win Iowa.
Who's the second one? What's the point behind it?
Second place is Warren at 17%.
What's the margin of error?
I think it's 3% or 2.5%, something like that. In the Des Moines Register's poll was absolutely, it's great, and all that hype is amazing. So like, I don't want to say like things aren't looking good because they're looking absolutely phenomenal. Where we are today in this campaign was where the campaign ended in 2016. So, and we were at that point months ago. We've just been making more and more progress ever since, and it's absolutely overwhelming and amazing. But this is only happening because so many people are getting involved, and because so many people after 2016 stood by and they were like, all right, I could have done a little bit more, myself included, everything, you know. And so people are getting more involved than ever. So like the important thing is let the hype, like feel that hype, be excited that we're gonna have a decent down-to-earth person, and be excited we're gonna get Trump out of office, but don't let that turn into complacency, because that's the number one thing they're counting on, is for progressives to be complacent, because that's how they get us, and that's how they got us in 2016 in the general election. Not that Hillary was progressive, but you know what I mean. Like Democratic voters looked at Trump and thought, how in the hell could that ever happen? And now we're sitting here thinking, how in the hell did that happen? And so that's the important thing. Moving forward, if you take anything from this, don't let yourself become complacent, because that's going to be another obstacle we'll have to fight, and we can't face another obstacle. So that's the number one thing I want everyone to drill into their minds, is like being involved every day, no matter how exhausting it gets, no matter how tiring, like it's important. So enjoy the hype, but don't be complacent. So in particular, focusing on South Carolina. South Carolina is also looking optimistic. We had an 8% jump in December on Joe Biden. We are polling very high, and our contact rates are higher than ever in the state. We have one of the largest staffs in the state, next to, I believe, only Tom Steyer, and that's an endless stream of money. So the other thing too is Bernie's in a particularly unique situation, because if Biden wins South Carolina, it doesn't mean much. The campaign goes on, nobody blinks an eye. But if Bernie wins South Carolina, that would be one of the most decisive and disrupting things that could happen politically in this election. It would absolutely cement his nomination from the Democratic Party. And that's why voting here is so important. Much more important than just being an early primary state. We are literally at a point where if Bernie wins South Carolina, the entire nation is going to stop and be like, holy shit. Like, people are listening to this guy. People really care. He broke through what people thought he could not break through. And the work we're putting in here is showing, like, throughout the state.
That 9-point surge.
And it was, when that poll came out, we had people from DC down here, and like they came in, they were like, y'all, like, you could do this. Like, this is, I mean, everyone was blown away. And we were, not that we didn't think we could win, but that we thought we had to do it, we weren't as far as we were.
And as far as the support?
Yeah.
That's
and
incredible.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal. It was probably the most uplifting day, probably next to Ariana Grande endorsing Bernie. Which, by the way, she has registered like 50,000 plus voters, and
no way.
Yeah,
wow.
These are all youth voters. And when polling was done, and I'm pretty sure it's much higher than that, but I want to be conservative in my answer. But when asked, when they were polled, 8 out of 10 of those newly registered voters said they were voting for Bernie. So that's phenomenal. And she's still going on little tours, still working with the organization, and and it's amazing. And younger voters, young demographics are often the most neglected in polling. So we're not, not represented there. So it's going to be exciting to see that turnout. The turnout is key.
Yeah.
And getting people to turn out, we're getting to the most important stage of our campaign, which I'll get into in a second. But I want to address a couple of things because, like, I hear a lot of reasons and a lot of concerns when people are talking about getting involved. So they range anywhere, and I'm not saying people aren't. People should give their entire lives. Like, I understand I'm in a fortunate position where I can focus my entire life on this right now, and that is a privilege I have. And that when asking volunteers for help, it is a lot, and I understand that. And I work around everyone's schedule the best I can. And I don't, if you're not comfortable canvassing alone or phone banking alone, I'm right there. Like, I'm not going to force you to do anything alone. I will go out of my way to make sure that the labor and the time you are giving to the campaign to help this movement out is not going to just be done without us giving as much as we can back, because it is a mutual understanding here. And I want to help y'all out when volunteering as much as possible, because y'all do a tremendous, I couldn't even put into words how much having volunteers here helps me out on a day-to-day basis. It not only gets the bosses off me, it keeps me motivated. It gives me something to look forward to, driving an hour out here. And it's absolutely helpful. But if you're ever at a point or you're talking to someone and they're like, I don't know if I should get involved, or like, one of the things I hear a lot is I'm nervous to canvass, or anxiety. I'll be honest, I had never knocked a door in my life until I started this job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the first door I knocked, I forgot to say my name, and I forgot to say the candidate, and I was like, I give him a flyer, I'm like, hey, I'm working on a presidential campaign, just like, I forgot to tell him the date of the election. Like, that person got no information on me, just a brief conversation. And like, and at times, I was like, I felt a little unsafe going to extremely rural areas where literally there's me and this person, and so on and so forth. But like, as I kept focusing on the motivation behind what I was doing, it became a lot easier, and I became a lot better at it. I'm not perfect. I'm very, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, but like, it's gotten a lot easier. And I think that's the case for every volunteer I've talked to that's broken through that barrier of wanting to get involved, but feeling anxious about it, or nervous, or having never done it before, no experience. Those people, I find that that's typically the case. So if you're
I think we're all pretty comfortable with talking to people,
yeah, so like it's,
knocking on doors.
yeah, if you ever see that, it's something that to keep in mind.
Well, I speak.
Because everyone's
I don't speak for
reason,
everyone. I'm sorry.
everyone's reason for not getting involved
That's what phone
shouldn't be
is for,
ignored.
though.
It should be worked through. So like, if you find someone and they're like, I don't know, but like, I like Bernie, like, pass them along to me. I want to work with them. I want to get them involved, because like, 4 years from now, you're gonna love to be able to look back and be like, I helped get that man when he's running for re-election, and it's gonna be a phenomenal feeling, because this is one of the darkest times politically for our country, one of the most defining points of our future, and we cannot afford to let that ball slip. We can't afford to go, like as AOC said, we can't afford to go back to where we were, because where we were got us to where we are, and that's an important thing. Why we can't just compromise and just try and take the easy route of getting the person we think would be the most easily electable, which is what we did in 2016, and it didn't play out that way. And even today, Bernie consistently polls 13 to 15% above Trump in a general election poll. That's the highest margin of any candidate running today, and most candidates don't even break a margin of error victory. So it's volatile, but not with Bernie, and that's the key thing we got to drive home. His policies, yes, he's changed the landscape, and that scares people.
Yeah.
But he's got the strongest backbone any politician could ever have, and that's us. And that's the important thing we got to remember. Because with us there, that fight is winnable. So, yeah. For other things, like I said, time commitment issues. I want to work with people, so I've kind of stopped telling people, I canvass in Newberry Fridays and Saturdays. I'm here Fridays and Saturdays, but if you can only canvass Tuesday morning, Tuesday's my day off, but I'll drive my ass out here and I will help you out. Like, that's fine with me. Like, I want to get y'all in the door, because once y'all are comfortable, it become an unstoppable force.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So, in terms of getting involved, just to reiterate, the Bern app is amazing. It's a relational organizing tool. If you're ever at a door and somebody answers and they're not in the little minivan app, and you're like, I don't know who I'm talking to, get their information, pull out your phone, put it in, and then boom, we have more information in a database that can help us facilitate and allocate resources where they're most effective. And that can be done in day-to-day life. You can put your friends in there, you can put your coworkers, you can put somebody you talked to 15 years ago who was like, if there's ever Bernie Sanders for president, I'm supporting him, and then boom, they're in our system, and that's super helpful for us. So if you don't have the Bern app, please take a second to install it at some point. It's simple to set up, simple to use. It's also conveniently going to have events in your area and everything alike, issue points and talking points, all that's provided in the app.
And what is the purpose of the app?
It's relational organizing. So like with minivan and traditional door-to-door canvassing, we have a set idea, a set turf or precinct we're targeting, and a set list of people that are already in our database. The Bern app helps us incorporate people we're talking to in our day-to-day lives so that they can be brought into our system, and then we can work with them and allocate our resources to them as well.
Okay.
So it helps build up what we already have and helps expand our reach in a very efficient way at that too. Of course, there's phone banking. Phone banking is a little iffy for me because I do normally in a day 150, 200 calls a day, and the problem is I call through my counties pretty fast because it's a smaller county, whereas areas like Richland, 2,000 to 3,000 people number you can call. You're not getting through that list in a night. Like, you're fine, and you get volunteers to help out with that. But because I work through my list so far, like when I have people phone bank, it's always a conflict of just letting them call my list and then I'm not calling, or having them on a statewide dialer. And I prefer to put them on a statewide dialer because at least then I'm also working and they're working and it's more labor. But phone banking is still extremely helpful. And if you don't feel like canvassing, you don't feel comfortable canvassing, I am more than happy to do phone banking. I try and do it Fridays from 4 to 8 at either Genesis or Starbucks. I flip a lot. But I was, and I canvassed or phone banked last night, and right now I'm waiting on some hotspots so I can have better internet because that Starbucks Wi-Fi is awful to work off of. The goal is that within a day or two I'll be out here every single day phone banking from 4 to 8. So if anyone's ever sitting around like, hey, I want to make calls, then I'll be here. You can just call me up and I can get that set up.
So you can do that remotely.
Yeah, phone banking can be done anywhere. The only thing is you need a list, or you can use a dialer, which the dialer is open typically on Tuesdays.
And up until the primaries, what do you suggest we?
What's our action plan?
Yeah, so that's the get out the vote stage of the campaign that we're building towards right now. And it's kind of crunch time in building up there to highlight kind of what we're going to need in Newberry. One, we need a staging location desperately. We need a place that is accessible publicly where we can set up and have an area for people to phone bank, an area for people to quickly learn how to canvass and use the software and tools we have, and to send them out. Because the idea being that Bernie supporters can spread this word of mouth and people can be coming in off the streets and just getting involved, and we can. And the ideal conversation we're having with these people isn't necessarily going to be, hey, are you a Bernie supporter? Yeah. It's going to be, what's your game plan to vote? What are you doing? Okay, here's your location. All right, what time are you going to be there? Okay.
Have you scouted out any locations?
I have a couple in mind, but I've got in Newberry. It's still up in the air.
The reason I ask is because the area might be something to look into.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and that's something that's factored in. When we pick a staging location, I'm not the sole decider in that. There's other factors that are brought in, but I need to know of every single one, because if it comes down to one location that is actually viable for us, then, But if y'all know of any place, of any location that can be made available to us.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because so not everyone has cars in Newberry, so
Yeah.
for them to like migrate to an area where the information will be available,
Yeah.
probably better to like have the
Yeah,
area
no.
staged in an area where.
But
Yeah,
then
no,
walking
that makes
distance.
sense. That's a good point. I know. Well,
Like I'm
like,
thinking West End, for example. I know you don't live here in Newbury, but like West End would be a great place out here in this part of town as well. I mean, downtown's nice and all. Yeah, not downtown's nice and all, but
yeah.
I mean, the traffic that's gonna go there isn't necessarily like.
It's a walk from Drayton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a walk from here too.
What about an outdoor location?
The problem is it's going to need to be set up for about a week with
Okay.
day-to-day use and heavy
Okay.
use throughout the day. You need internet connectivity and like a bathroom and things like that. Because the idea being that like as word of mouth of these spread, and this is how it played off in 2016, people just start popping in, and it's a nonstop. It needs to be an efficient system that gets people in the door and gets them out to volunteer within a couple minutes.
So is there like a budget for this location, or is this like it's
there
gonna be a free
is,
place?
because we only need it for about 4 days or so. I think the campaign is willing up to $300 for a temporary location, because obviously no place is going to sign a lease for 4 days. So I do think that's the limit, is about $300. But like even if it costs money or it's free or whatever, like send that my way, because like the campaign can't begin working on that unless we know about it. So,
And when do you anticipate you're gonna use these?
so
What,
the
4
d-
days?
Yeah, so the
Is it
days
the
leading
days
up to the
before
election.
the,
Yeah, so
just before the
primarily
primary?
the 26th through the 29th, but then we're also going to have, starting in the second weekend of February, dry runs for testing out, get out the vote, and to make sure we're efficiently, we've got practice and we've got it tuned out, and what's the word, figured out, I guess, ahead of time, so that when it comes crunch time, the actual implementation. So the two criterias are going to be like that dry run weekend in February, and then the 26th or 29th. And then, yeah, so then
So will we need the location for both sets, for the dry run, for the rehearsals, and for the live fire?
ideally,
or-
yeah, I'd have to do, I think with the dry run, 1 day of a dry run might be good instead of both days, but they're really focused on having a trial because they don't want GOTV to actually come up and then there to be a whole heap of issues, and then we're not being as effective as we can. Because get out the vote has been statistically proven to be the most effective way to turn and like people out to vote and to get people to actually like support you, and it has been proven to be successful. Like it is a make it or break it kind of deal. So that's why it's so important. And yeah, and, with get out the vote, we also need steady volunteers to help run it. Because like I've got 3 counties, each one's going to need a staging location, each one's going to need the same thing. So I need someone there to help run the place, and I know
Yeah,
both
I
of
got
you,
no problem.
have helped out a lot with that. I think it's going to be tremendous having y'all's help there. I don't anticipate Newberry to be as big as like Richland, obviously. So I feel like I'm going to personally try and assess the needs of the county to adequately find resources for it. But the idea being, right now is the time to get comfortable with filmmaking and canvassing and organizing in general. Because when we're really going to need you, and I make it a break it point, that's going to be late February. That's going to be GOTV. And I want, if someone's not comfortable right now canvassing or getting involved, I want to work through that now, so that by the time this GOTV comes, they are ready for prime time. They're eager and they're excited, and they're going to get us that win. You
So
know?
what is GOTV?
Get out the vote.
Okay, that's what it is.
Acronyms.
Well, I was thinking of like the word geo and then just TV.
Yeah.
I was like National Geographic.
Yeah, that's
Nice try.
Okay, get out the vote. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for making me feel.
No, it's fine. It's fine. The acronym is really not that important. It's just that's the name of what we're working towards right now. Everything we've been doing for months has been to build up to a successful GOTV. That's how important it is. So, yeah, I definitely want everyone to be aware of that. I'm going to pass out a sheet in a little bit, just get general information on like how you think GeoTV would fit in your lives, and then that way I can have an understanding for everyone, because it's gonna be fast, it's gonna be hectic. Like I said, I'm gonna be working literally a 24-hour day on election day, so it's gonna be vital. But like it can't be done without y'all, and without y'all talking to friends and family, if they're leftist. If they're not, then you don't gotta talk to them.
We can't all be fortunate and have leftist parents.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This has been the story of my life since I was a child. Like my dad was like, "All right, you're 3 years old. Listen up. Like shit's wrong in the world. All right." and God.
So get out the vote.
Yes, get out the vote.
I don't know how to make it stop. I'm sorry. It's a. So what besides our action plan? So we need to find a location. We tried to find us a location.
We need to find volunteers like now, consistent volunteers now, and then we need to build them up and get them comfortable. And I want to work with them to get them as ready as possible, and then find out where they fit in and when they can help out during GOT.
What's the minimum you need?
Phone bank captain, canvas captain, trainer, staging location lead.
So like half a dozen? 6?
At least.
Ideally, yes. Because what I would like is to have a person in like a rotating thing where teams of people go out, so nobody's canvassing alone. But I would say 4 is the minimum every day for
4 days.
4 days.
4 days, and if possible, a dry run, and then yeah. So yeah, the more volunteers, the less everyone has to work, which is what ideally I want. I don't want everyone to be like having to make huge commitments in their lives and to derail their own lives for this. I want to minimalize that as much as possible, but as much as like anyone is able to help out is going to be tremendous, because I'm very confident that Newberry will get a higher percentage of the vote this election than in 2016. I'm very optimistic about the responses I get here, just on the streets. I mean, the amazing conversations I'm having. It's very inspiring and it does build a lot of confidence in me. But I know that won't happen unless we stay on people, because people can very easily wake up that morning and then, hey, we need you in work, and like, and they're like, okay, and then 7:01, and they're like, oh wait, today's election day, and the polls are not closed, and you know, yeah, and I mean, I know I would be that person.
Where are you going to find these volunteers? Where have you gone, or what is your plan on getting these volunteers?
So I mean, apart from canvassing every day, I'm trying to ramp up my, like, don't tell the union. I'm canvassing way more outside of my scheduled time right now, because and despite all my bosses telling me not to, but I really want to find these people. I want to have those conversations, because people aren't undecided anymore. They're leaning or they're decided, and if they're leaning, I want to push them towards us. If they're decided, I want to either find out they're decided for us, and if they're not, find out why, and then hopefully break through that if possible.
Have you gone to the college?
So actually, that's another thing. So all within this next week, from Monday to Friday, Monday to Friday, every single college in the state of South Carolina is going to have a campaign presence. From Monday to Friday this week. Tuesday, I will be at Newberry College all day, trying to talk to students and see if they're registered to vote, see who they're considering to vote for, and try and get them involved. If anyone is able to help with that, that'd be amazing.
I was just gonna say, if you need help with that, and if I'm free, let me know.
Yeah, I'll be there starting, I think, 11.
I can get you a name from the Newberry College, Dr. Roos.
That'd be amazing, because I have called like 100
she's
people.
the legal science?
Political science professor.
Because I cannot, like, even our college outreach director, who called dozens and dozens of people at every single college, has not been able to get in touch with anyone at Newberry College.
Well,
So-
Dr. Russo would be a good place to start.
Write that down.
Sorry.
Did we have a couple people on the call list that were from Newberry College? A couple professors too.
Yeah.
Say
Marshall Maddie.
Marshall Maddie, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say like Dr. Lassane.
I've left voicemails on there.
Yeah.
He never called me back.
He seemed very, motivated and ready to go. I think I might have talked to a lady as well from the college.
Wait, did Marshall Maddie pick up?
You know what? I can look at my notes.
I can look back at the call.
But yeah.
Every time I've called, it's been voicemail. I've
But
left voicemails.
I think I got positive responses from like
I've talked to
just
people at the door.
folks over there.
Yeah, I've talked. I mean, I've not. Like, I've talked to people who've worked there, Canvas people. They're like, yeah, work here. And was it Alphonse?
Yeah, Alphonse mentioned somebody.
Yeah, and he was working there, and he was like, hey, talk to this person, and then they gave me a number and called him.
And we got a couple that are like call us back in February. So.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
Calls back.
She would be a great person to talk to.
Okay.
And she just sent me a text, so just reply. And just,
I know the
her
climate, right?
and also Naomi Simmons. She is part of the sociology department.
Okay.
They do a lot of intermingling with both departments and getting the students engaged.
That's awesome.
In different things. So
What would you like?
those two would be great to
I've
talk to.
Okay.
And then you know, college, she'll show you around. She may even let you speak in her class. And
You got two kids.
Yeah.
Gotta waste their lives.
Okay. If not, then you're more than welcome to give
but
her.
her email.
Or her email.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I'm definitely gonna reach out to them tomorrow. If you want to tell me that.
The majority of Newberry College professors are leaning left.
Really?
Yeah.
Did not
Hands
know that.
down. Hands
Did
down.
not know that.
Yeah,
I figured with how little
It's a
communication
private school,
I've been
It's
able
a
to
private
have-
liberal arts school, liberal school, but you know,
Yeah,
the college has changed a lot.
That's amazing. No, that might be a savior because as it stands, we've not
Might
been
be a
able to reach
sign
out to
here.
them. I have like walked around that campus and canvassed it so many times, and like,
Well, you have the right name.
I will at the very least I will Google my ass off. So yeah, we will be hitting college, Newberry College this Tuesday, and if I can get a proper contact, I'm going to be working with them a lot more, leading up, and probably, hopefully, I'm sure they're doing like a voter registration drive at some point.
Yeah, I know they've done two before the Christmas break.
Yeah, I know.
So they'll be back tomorrow.
Because they were doing during the Benedict social justice, what was it? They were putting on their own events there, and I would try really hard to get involved in that, and I couldn't get in touch.
We need to reach out to the working class here. We need a good way to reach out to.
Canvassing.
I've been drawing.
Canvassing.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Get
canvassing.
out there and actually
Canvassing is the most effective way to ID voters and to persuade them. That's just how it is. And it's exhausting, gruesome labor at times. But it is the most effective way. You know, because people here aren't used to being canvassed.
Yeah, well, I talk to people for a living. I talk to people all day, so I have no problem going and knocking on people's
it's a time
doors.
issue.
I feel like I wish there was a way we could reach out to the employees of businesses, you know, especially big box retail stores,
See, but that's another
Walmart.
problem too. Walmart employees typically do support Bernie, but it's hard for employees in very toxic work environments to publicly support Bernie. They have to keep it on the DL.
Oh no, I'm like way out and like I am out Bernie supporter at work. Like I don't even care. When somebody vandalized my little sticker, I was walking through the store with my stickers and look at what someone, and it gave me an excuse to talk to everybody at work about Bernie.
Yeah.
Look at what they did to my sticker, my Bernie sticker. And they're saying, why would they do that to your sticker? Well, because he's for the working class like you and me, and they don't want to see you and I succeed. That's why they marked out that sticker. So I use every single opportunity that I get. Lowe's. Oh yeah, it can get pretty toxic, but he's got a lot more supporters in retail than
Oh
next.
yes.
One
I
of
mean,
their
my dad works. He lives in Texas. He works at Walmart.
one of the main research
We
I
talked
did
about
a.
Bernie all day.
So get this, I did a big research thing for retail employees, and it turns out that the service industry is now the biggest industry of the working class.
Never been
And we are also the most ambiguous when it comes to voting. They did a study, what they did was they just took all the votes and calculated them according to where someone works and how they
Instead
voted.
of me moving out,
Certain places, if it was a positive number, then it was for the person. If it was a negative number, it
like
was
a bird
against the
being
person.
pushed out of the nest.
You know, teachers were positive for Hillary Clinton, negative for Donald Trump. When it came to retail workers, they were negative for Donald Trump and they were negative for Hillary Clinton. They didn't like either. They just liked Hillary Clinton slightly less than they disliked Donald Trump. Which was the same thing with me. The devil I know is a lot less scary than the devil I don't.
Right, but the problem comes in when you talk about getting retail workers to organize.
And it's because we are squashed at organizing because we don't have,
it's against the law to do that. You get
Most
fired
places,
for organizing.
most places will fire you for trying to organize.
Yeah.
And the corporations have interpreted support of Bernie as an attempt to organize.
oh yeah, I was trying to do rumblings of a union at my work, and then all of a sudden they want to hold an invitation-only town hall at my work. Invitation-only town hall. It's like so only certain employees are invited to the town hall. So
For propaganda purposes.
yeah, probably for anti-union because they would pick one day that was off. Hold the town hall.
Yeah, so when it comes to reaching out, canvassing is going to be the best. But events as well. I am really pushing to get the campaign involved. The events y'all going on. I want to get a surrogate here desperately. I can't promise anything, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, do we have any events coming up here? Like I know, like Oktoberfest or anything like that.
Yeah, we have a lot of Martin Luther King Day.
MLK Day. Okay, so at the parade, can we get a table?
The parade is.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
The president.
Yes,
The
we can get a
president.
table. Dylan, let's get a table.
Let me give me a table.
What day is the parade?
With chairs.
The parade is Saturday.
The
Okay.
18th.
The 18th.
Oh.
Because the 20th.
Sunday's the luncheon.
Okay. And
Sunday
then
afternoon,
Monday
too.
is the.
And Monday's the actual service. We have a table for service as well.
Yeah.
In the back.
See, the problem is Monday. So on the 20th, Bernie's going to be here in South Carolina to.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's to March in Columbia, and I'm helping out with that.
Yeah, that's the state NAACP.
Yeah, so I won't be able to be on the 20th.
Understandable.
But the 18th and 19th, actually right before we just had a call about events, so and I resubmitted both of those. So I think that parade would be a good one to have, and then the February events too. That's another way.
Dylan, do you have to be physically there?
Do I have to be physically
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
No.
So why can't one of us be there the 20th?
That's totally fine. I mean, I'm not gonna just yell at y'all to do that, but if that's possible, then yeah.
I mean, the more folks see
Bernie.
Bernie.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
just be in the crowd.
Yeah,
you know,
I am
just
literally
be
off
there, see
I
it.
can bring tables, I can bring signs, I can
We
bring
have a
chairs.
shed in the garage right now.
Just show off the brand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just give us,
you're absolutely
give us
right,
some
you're right.
pamphlets or whatever, and we'll
Yeah.
set up a booth and chill out. And hey guys.
I'll come and hang out on lunch. I have to work that Saturday, but
Oh,
I will come and sit
what
there
time
for an
works
hour
to start
and
setting
hand out all sorts of Bernie stuff.
Well, it's all on Main Street.
It's a parade.
Yeah, it's up and down Main
It's
Street.
not
So,
a
What time
booth.
does
It's
Well,
a parade.
No,
So
no,
what
the
does
parade
it
definitely
The
next
parade
start?
starts at 2,
starts at 2 and ends at 3?
whenever it ends.
Is there
Depending how many.
Is there a
MLK
price
celebration.
for things?
Well, there's no
No.
tables.
Just set it up.
It's
Oh,
a
sorry.
float. You get a truck, you put a
Well,
bunch of Bernie
You can
signs
keep 'em on the
around
side,
it,
it's on the side.
or on the
Yeah,
side.
so like,
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll be able to get an actual
I've
float
got
put together.
But yeah, just have some set up on the side.
Okay.
And
You
walk
can
up
set
down
up
Main
on the-
Street,
you
give
can
out
set up-
cards, say, hey, how you doing? Hey, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Here's a card from
Okay.
Bernie. You know.
You can set up on the front porch of the bookstore too, because we're right on Main Street, and we're one of the few businesses that has a porch before the sidewalk. They won't let you set up on the sidewalk, but we will let you set up on our front porch.
Okay.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
They can't tell us not to use our front porch.
What's the place called?
Books on Main,
Books on Main? Okay.
1209 Main
So
Street.
here's here's what I'm thinking with that. So the 18th, I'm doing a voter registration drive in Fairfield. I don't know how early that will be. I'm hoping it'll be early. reach out to them about that. I do not have finalized plans on it though. So tentatively, the plan is going to be setting up a table in front of the Books on Main.
Have folks walk the street.
Yeah.
Folks are sitting down,
Yeah.
standing around.
I'm gonna see if we can do like. I've got some ideas. Yeah. So, who on the 18th around 2 o'clock, probably setting up around 1 to 1:30, is able to help us.
I mean, I'll be there because I'll unlock the door so we can use the bathroom and stuff.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
I got my mom's birthday party, but that should be at 3. So as long as
Yeah,
I
that's
can
still-
come in, I can do the early stuff, but I
Yeah.
believe a little early.
Okay.
So meet you there at 1:30.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be there at 1:30.
Do you still have those flyers I sent you?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
You can share with everyone.
Yes, I will send that.
I can take a lunch at 2.
Yeah,
I can take a lunch at 2, so I can meet you there.
Okay.
On Saturday.
That's awesome. Let me. Oh no, you wrote Dr. Bruce's name in my Math 103 notebook.
That's what you did.
That is on me. I'm
Said what?
sorry, I was doing homework before I came over here, because I didn't want to be up all night doing schoolwork. But
You're going to
And,
be up all
you know,
night.
maybe, having someone with a sign in the march that morning, I don't know, that gives publicity that Newberry Observer will be there.
Yeah.
Heavily. So
the march, when does that
the
start?
march is that Monday. But having someone in the march holding the sign and getting a picture and putting it in the paper,
Is anyone able to walk and hold that? I have to be helping with Bernie, so I won't be.
Mondays is my day to take care of my grandmother, so that's an all day.
On Monday?
Yeah, Monday the 20th.
Just a thought.
Yeah,
I
no,
just need to.
I agree. I wish I didn't. I mean, I'm.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
That's an important place to be in Columbia on Monday. I do understand. Trust me, he won't be the only one in the march.
So what? Alright, so what is on Monday?
Monday is the MLK service, but before the service, we march from one church to another.
What time is the march?
The march is at 9:30. 9 or 9:30. Let me pull up the right stuff for you. And just having paraphernalia from Bernie campaign present and
So how would you?
shown.
I will see if I can change my schedule on the 20th. Instead of going in at 10, I can go in, see if I can go in at 11.
Yeah, the march starts at 9:30 at Bethlehem Baptist Church down on College Street.
So how would you want to do it? What would a group of us with a little banner or something like that walking, or just walking around handing stuff out?
Either. I mean, I can see about. We do have banners. They're pretty protective of them because they're expensive. Of course.
Well, I mean,
Yes,
it's
those
not
I
like
think
I'm
will work
going to
well.
take it and put it out in
I'm
front
worried
of
about
my
what
house
others
if I
might
want.
do to it.
Well, as long as you're holding it.
Dylan, if anyone's going to take your banner, he's going to
Dude,
be me.
think about the publicity we'd get if somebody came and tried to rip a Bernie banner.
I know, right? The Newberry Observer.
now,
Because that would give them even more of a reason to talk about Bernie Sanders.
Think about the national and operations coming to me and you be like,
We
hey,
just
Dylan.
need
There are a million new
to
eyeballs looking
save
at Bernie right now
somebody.
because we feel like we're being.
Okay, don't do it
We're
again.
Trump supporters.
Thank you.
Get you a MAGA hat.
If I do it, they'll know it's staged.
Yeah, we need to get a white person in a MAGA hat to cut through this thing so that we can.
Dylan can
No,
do it.
I don't want
I'll just tell my coworker.
We're gonna get
I'll just tell him we can use
Give her the date and the time and he'll show
Yeah,
up.
come here and cut
He'll
through.
just do it of his own
So we're
volition.
Jesse Smollett now? Is that what we're
Tell
doing?
every brown person where they came
Now we're
from.
going whiteface.
Oh God!
I'm so sorry you have to deal with that crap.
Okay, I will never wear a MAGA hat. I heard that briefly.
No. I said we just need
Yes.
somebody to dress
Stuff like
up in a
that,
MAGA
yeah.
hat. Doesn't mean you have
I
to.
know the man. I know
I
the
heard
perfect
someone
man.
suggest my name. We could get
I'm sorry, I said that.
All right.
All for the cause,
So-
Dylan. It's all for the cause.
Okay. Take a step back. The 18th, table up at 1:30 in front of Books on Main. That I can definitely help with. And you can help.
I should be able to. What's that, Monday?
No, that's
Saturday.
a Saturday.
Oh, that's Saturday. I should be able to, yeah.
Okay. Saturday, and then
I
you'll
may
be
have a
out
baby
for a
with
bit.
me, but
Yeah,
I'll be
that's
there.
fine.
But that's with the little
Yeah.
strap on thing.
I'll have all three of my kids with me.
People will probably be more approachable with their kids.
With babies.
Plus, our baby is adorable. It will just be like,
They'll be
oh,
less
look at
inclined to be.
little Bernie baby.
You said Hispanic
And
guy
you might be able to
walking
take
with a baby out here?
Yeah.
And you might be able to take lunch, or you'll take lunch.
Yes.
if you-
Okay. So the 18th.
Is the
we're gonna
table
do
at the books on
at
Main?
Books on Main, and I can be there at 2.
Okay, awesome.
I can probably take a longer lunch that day. I don't know, like
Just,
coworker really hacked me off, so
yeah.
I can have more liberties at work now.
Yeah. Take his lunch too.
Take your lunch.
No, like go into the fridge and take his lunch. But don't eat it, just throw it in the trash.
No, I'm gonna give that to an actual homeless person. That'll really make it out because he didn't work for it.
On what day?
The 18th,
Yeah.
2 o'clock table.
Is it 1:30 gonna get there?
Yeah, 1:30.
Yeah, 1:30 is when I'm going to start setting up, so that's the ideal time if you can.
It's at 1209 Main.
12:09.
And then the 20th, the march is at 9:30.
Yeah, if we can get someone who's willing, who's able.
I'll see what I can do with my schedule that morning. See if I can push my going time from 10 to 11.
It's like, and I'm gonna, as soon as I get out of here, I'm gonna call my boss, who's probably off the clock and very tired, and be like, hey, I'd much prefer to be out here than.
Say, boo-hoo, I'm off the clock. I'm really
Yeah, I
tired
might
too.
Not
To be more visible where you're visible.
Yeah.
And what
in
was
Newberry,
the church that's
you know,
Bethel?
Bethlehem
It's like
Baptist.
people are
On
gonna
College
cover
Street.
Bernie regardless. I'm just there to
Across
help
from
out
Lindsay's
operationally,
Furniture.
You know, like I'm not partaking in the walk. That's gonna be all Bernie and maybe a couple of surrogates, you know. But like I'm gonna,
Volunteer free lunch.
you know, it would be a lot better. But I'm gonna have that discussion. So.
Is there anything going on the 23rd?
I think the Newberry Democrat meeting.
I'll
Yeah.
see you there.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. Actually, yeah.
I will be there
7
for
to
that.
8 at some restaurant. Ronnie's.
We're not having that meeting on the 23rd.
No.
Not in
Sorry.
January.
What was the name of that church? The,
No.
the thing on
Bethlehem
Bethlehem.
Baptist.
When
We're having a meeting.
Don't be smiling. Don't be smiling. Get
Sorry,
out of
bud.
bed.
Oh, no worries.
It's time for bed for you, buddy.
It's past my bedtime, y'all. I can't believe how tired I am.
Wait, so why aren't they doing the meeting in January?
We have there's a lot of people who will be absent at that meeting, and they postpone that meeting.
When is it postponed to? Just
We're not
next
for
month?
sure yet.
We probably will have the February meeting.
Right.
The fourth Thursday?
Third Thursday.
Third Thursday,
Or the fourth.
right.
I don't know. Dates are right.
February's
You know
gonna
who
be-
we need to get on this
February's gonna be a
campaign is
little
Walt McLeod.
McLeod.
We were talking about the
We
Newberry
were
Democrats earlier.
trying to,
Because
and, you know, we actually need to go to a
everybody loves
meeting.
Yeah.
Because everybody loves him, and he.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, can we get a
well, you know what I mean.
I'll go with
Yes,
you.
yeah. Okay, we're gonna take a smoke break. Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna have to take a break. Alright guys, we'll be back.
We won't have a meeting